Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon. So I guess we've been seeing the articles and memes being circulated all over Facebook about the Ebola vaccine approved by the FDA. And so a lot of you guys that are anti-vax still think that the government or Bill Gates is trying to destroy the world with rogue viruses and all of that. And I'm going to say that's not true. We have fluctuations in the universe. We live in a world of biodiversity. And through however the fluctuations happen based upon whatever you think is making the earth fluctuate, you're going to be releasing viruses, bacteria, all types of stuff. And we have 7 billion people on the planet that are weak, that are sick, that are exposed to animals and different environments, and they're going to be mixing viruses and bacteria, of which will have different types of strains that are out there that will then exhibit characteristics of a new disease or a new virus. And so there are people out there that think that the Ebola vaccine is starting an epidemic in like America or in the West. And here's the thing, no matter what, okay, no matter how you think these viruses come into play, if you do the J juice, here's the Jilly juice right here. Okay, this is the Jilly juice. This has lactic acid. This has prohormones. It has micro and macronutrition. It has electrolytes. It has, of course, the salt, the sodium, has all the trace minerals. And the Ebola virus is just a virus. What it targets is the cardiovascular system because it's a hemorrhagic fever. It basically busts your blood vessels. It weakens your blood vessels if you have a weak body. So what's inevitably going to happen when and if they do make it mandatory is that you're going to have weak people no matter what. I mean, the viruses are out there. You can't stop it. Okay, it's like watching a storm make its way slowly across the ocean onto land. They've already been telling you that this virus is out there. They discovered it, and I've been watching some of the Netflix stuff, and I've been watching, how just these viruses come to be, and then what the World Health Organization goes in and does, and they make all their reports. But they've been telling you this since the 90s. I mean, what was it? Outbreak was like the first movie that was made with Morgan Freeman, and that other chick's name I forget. That they did a whole movie about the Ebola virus, and they kind of. I mean, you can say it predictive programming. You can say, oh, yeah, they're getting us ready to do some kind of like, eugenics type of thing. And that's still all conspiracy. And there's no way to prove that there was some intentional, nefarious things going on. So you have to then chalk it up to they are discovering these viruses. And then for even to get into the public consciousness that there is some kind of crazy virus out there, that right now they have it sequestered in like the middle of like the Democratic, Republic of Congo, but they can only contain it for so long. People are mobile, they're global. There's propaganda that's out there that's scaring people into not turning themselves in when they feel they have or been exposed to it. And so they try to escape. And there's been documentaries about people trying to escape a village that they have quarantined because they're afraid that the UN or the World Health Organization is trying to round them up, and they're hearing all these rumors. And so some people have actually escaped from a quarantine area and gone over the border and carried the virus with them. So no matter what, when they discover a virus in some remote place that is making its way into the inner cities and the big cities and then to other continents, it's going to make its way to you. We're a mobile global society. We don't live in a bubble where, we're separated by oceans and continents, okay? We have planes, we have trains, we have automobiles. It's like it's inevitable that you're going to be exposed to somebody or something that's been exposed to those pathogens, bacteria, and all of that. So the only way you're going to be able to protect yourself, Okay, the only way you're going to be able to protect yourself against whatever's out there, whatever floating virus that's out there, is you got to do the J juice. I'm telling you, you can think that you can take some kind of supplement or some kind of, detox or colloidal silver or whatever antibiotic that's out there in the holistic world. But I'm telling you, when people are that scared and they think that in lieu of vaccines, they'll go and take a lot of the detoxes that are in the holistic world, they're going to cause more imbalances. And it's going to then do the opposite of what you think it's going to do. It's not going to protect you. It's going to actually leave you more open to then the virus ravaging you. Because the more you create more imbalances in your body by taking in a conglomeration of an acid such as like kombucha, or you take in a conglomeration of like lemon water, which is acidic too, or taking a conglomeration of like colloidal silver or any heavy metal type of detoxes, you actually weaken your immune system, leaving you more open to that virus that you're so afraid of. Because once you're exposed, there isn't an antibiotic in the world that's going to stop it. Okay? It's like these viruses, when they see a weakness, and the weaknesses you all basically that are not doing the J juice are all weak. Okay? It's going to ravage you, especially if you have predispositions of weak cardiovascular system. Okay, because a hemorrhagic fever is basically targeting the blood vessels, it's targeting the heart, it's targeting all the different vessels. I mean, you look up what the Ebola virus is, and it attacks the blood system, it attacks the capillaries, it attacks the cardiovascular system. And so those of you that, say, okay, you're not doing the J juice and you're all pro-vaccine, and you do the vaccine, okay, you do the Ebola vaccine. Well, you don't know what predispositions you hold. You can read the inserts and see what the side effects are, and those side effects are based upon predisposition. It's not that they caused any of your issues. No, it's the fact that you're going to be exposed to the Ebola virus regardless, because the WHO and the CDC know that it's coming to your soil. They're trying to prepare you. No matter what you think, they're trying to prepare you. And so they know that people have predispositions out there because they carry so much issues and so many traumas, okay, that they know that there's going to be a segment of the population that's going to have adverse reactions. There's going to be another segment that's not going to have as many. And who's to say nowadays with the generation that's out there that's that weak, who knows what other exotic illnesses are going to come from being exposed to the Ebola virus that's going to be on your soil, as well as in the attenuated version of it, because that's what the vaccine is. It's the attenuated version of the real thing that they found in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay, so I'm seeing people already freaking out and saying, oh my God, they're discovering, or they just approved the vaccine and now we're going to have an epidemic. It's already, it already happened out there in West Africa. It's already happening there. It's making its way over here. It's already, we already had a few scares in different parts of the US in 2014. Now, I was part of the conspiracy community thinking that, we hear about the Ebola virus and now not anymore, but they successfully did contain it. But it's not going to be able to be contained at some point, because remember, people commingle. They intermingle. If they have sex, they intermingle. They exchange fluids. You can't stop people from communing together. And then somebody could be a peace worker that was in that region, very, very strong, and pick up the virus, but it's dormant because they have a very strong immune system. But as people age and they've been exposed, then that antibody would then, and they also have a weakness in their cardiovascular system, that antibody, that virus could come to surface and multiply. Okay, so they know that at some point people are going to be experiencing offshoots of it, or experiencing it at some point in the West. Okay, and if they haven't already. Okay, so no matter what, I don't care how you think the Ebola virus has come to be. I don't care where you think it came from. I don't care. Thing is, do the J juice. Do the J juice. No matter what, I will walk into a crowd that is fully Ebola. I'll go into the Democratic Republic of Congo. I'll hug somebody that has the Ebola virus, and I'll drink the J juice. I'll shake everybody's hands that I don't know in the areas that are ravaged with disease, Because if you have a strong immune system and a strong body, you're not going to worry about all the different bacteria. That's why I don't worry about the E. coli. You know, I don't worry about, you know, listeria or all these things that they have all these different recalls. I don't worry about it. I don't worry about the flu. They're saying that's a really, I mean, they say every year it's bad, but it is bad every single year because the virus becomes stronger and stronger, but not really. It's the people that are weaker and weaker. Okay, so when you have virus getting stronger and stronger and people getting weaker and weaker, it's bad, and more people pass away. And so the only way that you can mitigate those types of difficulties is to do the J juice. But you can't take the J juice just to protect yourself from Ebola, because once you do the J juice, you're going to then bring up all the predispositions you have in your body, and then you're going to have to deal with not only protecting yourself from Ebola, but everything else that you've ever been exposed to in your life that is a weakness. And so you're going to start the healing process. You're going to kickstart the healing process. And I don't know how, if you're exposed to Ebola, how that's going to manifest during the healing process either. So no matter what, it's either you do the J juice or you roll the dice. If that's what it comes down to. You do the J juice or you roll the dice. So this is just fair warning to all of you that yes, you're seeing signs that the FDA approved that vaccine, and you're going to see more of the whole scare of Ebola, but it's already here on the soil. It's just a matter of time. Now, will you see it in your neighborhood? Will you, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. But remember, Bill Gates said, within 6 months of a rampant virus that's been, I would say discovered, that is taking people down, you know, large swaths of people in a population. He says it could take 6 months for 30 million people to be taken down. And that would make sense, because that would be like, you know, the elderly and the babies and the weak, the children. Okay, so if you want to protect your parents, you want to protect your children, you want to protect your immunocompromised, you got to get them on the J juice, even a little bit, even just a little bit, because a little bit of juice, because when it has lactic acid, it'll strengthen your body and help build up the natural bacteria in your body to boost your immune system. Then yes, you're going to feel pain because you have other predispositions you have to deal with, but at least you're going to then help strengthen your cardiovascular system. So when you do get exposed to the Ebola virus, it's not going to do so much damage. So I don't really know to what extent, when you do the J juice and you've been exposed to that kind of virus, how it's going to manifest in the healing process. But you know what? I would rather have that insurance of the J juice than risk, you know, some major adverse reactions from being exposed to that virus in the environment, or from potential adverse reactions from the vaccine because of predispositions you already have. So I'm going to drink my juice. Woo! Woo! Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. It just depends. I haven't had that in a while, so. But drinking the juice, it's just going to help keep everything moving and strengthen those weaknesses. Okay. And so you got to get prepared. You know, you had the AIDS virus in the 80s, and the Ebola virus is going to be in the 2020s, and generations are still weaker. So you guys just get prepared. Get prepared. Hey, Emily Keynes, nice to see you, hon. But yeah, I mean, a lot of you are not prepared to deal with a very aggressive virus out there. Even if a person is shedding from a vaccine because they have a predisposition that triggered some adverse reaction. So no matter what, those of you that are not doing J juice, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, no matter what. Because even if you do get exposed to someone who has it, not because of the vaccine, but they have it because they've been traveling to places where people have it or had adverse reactions to it, you know, you don't know. You don't know. And at this point, this is why this is around. This is why J juice exists, because we're now entering into a tipping point where the amount of infected people who are basically the weak people are going to be tipping the scales, and there's going to be some balancing force out there that's going to then basically finish people off. And I know it sounds so like so like morbid, but this is reality. I mean, if the flu can take people down every year, certain people down every year, and that's a flu. Imagine what this Ebola virus can do, even in its shedding state in a vaccine. Imagine. So I urge you guys, get on the J juice, get on it, because why would you? So I'm telling you, some of you seem like you're strong, but I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how many muscles you build up. I don't care how many, energy drinks or how many, whatever healthy things that you eat. You have leaky gut, you have weaknesses, you have predispositions that if you're exposed to an aggressive virus, whether it's from somebody shedding or from someone who's been exposed to something like Ebola, you're going to be taken down. The most microscopic thing out there that you can't even see can take down a population. That's what's so crazy about it. It doesn't matter how big you are or how healthy you think you are or how strong you think you are. The smallest thing that you can't even see unless it's in a piece of flesh or on some surface can take down a population. I mean, the bubonic plague took down so many people in Europe, okay? And they didn't even have vaccines back then. But imagine, we have vaccines now and we have double, triple the weak people. It doesn't matter really at this point whether or not it's a vaccine or an actual virus. Weak people are going to succumb no matter what, whether it's your child, your mom, your dad, or someone not on the J juice. And so it's not going to hurt you to just drink a bit of it. It's not going to hurt you to even drink a quart, like to do even a waterfall per week. That'll be enough protection to do a waterfall per week. Because at least you're doing something for your body. You're releasing the excess, you're fixing the weaknesses, and you're getting rid of that poop in your system, and you're strengthening your cardiovascular system, because when you think about it, that hemorrhagic fever targets that, so you've got to strengthen that. I mean, this really is a clue for all these crazy viruses. When you think about like the flu virus, it's like a respiratory thing and all that. You want to take the J juice to strengthen your lungs. You want to be able to take the J juice to know how to combat the different viruses that target parts of your body. So, I mean, you don't know what you encounter out there in the environment. You don't know who has AIDS. You don't know who has herpes. You don't know who has HPV. You don't know who has, EBV, Coxsackie, Entero. I mean, all these different viruses. You have no idea who has what that targets parts of your systems. And so you might as well take something like this to protect you. And it's not that they're destroying you. It's the fact that you're that weak, and those will either strengthen you or they will tear you down. But at this point, all of our society at this point is so weak that all these viruses will destroy you if you have weaknesses or predispositions. See, predisposition is equal to weakness. So if you've already been predisposed in some way, shape, or form, or you don't even know because you'll find out on J juice, you are now rolling the dice every single day that you don't do J juice. Every single day. And I don't like those odds. Not with the amount of people on this planet and the amount of viruses and bacteria that are out there. And it's not because it's like abnormal, it's totally normal. When you have, different climate fluctuations and going into different seasons and weather patterns and different animals and all of that, you have to prepare to be able to adapt to your environment. Okay, I mean, the whole J juice is about adaptation, adapting to new environments. So that's why I had to finally come to terms with why vaccines exist to begin with, because that's the only way I can sell J juice, I guess, if I'm going to sell J juice. Because Jilly juice is helping you transition into a new environment, which is indefinite life, but you have to feel pain. and then it's going to bring up predispositions. No different than when someone gets a vaccine and they get an adverse reaction. It just triggers your predispositions, but you're going to trigger it anyways because you're going to be encountering that same virus in the environment, which is why you have that vaccine to begin with. So J-juice really had so the vaccines had to be explained through J-juice. Okay, that's the whole irony of J-juice, is that everything that I thought I knew, I didn't know shit. And so I had to kind of retract and double back with my information. So that's why you're seeing me say, well, I used to believe anti-vax, but now I'm not so much pro-vax or anti-vax. I'm pro-Jilly juice, but not everybody's going to do Jilly juice. So don't put your friends and family at a disadvantage, because what's going to happen is that they don't want to do the vaccine of the Ebola vaccine. They're going to go and double up on imbalances in the fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals by taking kombucha, apple cider vinegar, colloidal silver, all these things, and it's going to leave them more open to that virus that's coming into their environment. So that's why I don't like people scaring people away from vaccines. I'd rather you promote Jilly juice. Promote Jilly juice and say, okay, do Jilly juice and choose not to do a vaccine or not, fine. But you got to do Jilly juice because you got to bring up everything anyways. And it's going to give you the protection against potential virus because you're going to be strengthening the weaknesses, because you have no idea how you're going to react to that virus in the environment. You have no idea. You may know your predispositions, but you may not know certain predispositions because maybe you've incurred that in your lifetime based upon the traumas from the therapies, because you dealt with another symptom with something that caused another trauma to the body that created another predisposition that you never knew because it never came up until it will in the future. Okay, so with the J juice, you will know what you're predisposed to from past, present, and future. Or so predisposition is triggers and weaknesses. So predisposition, triggers, and weaknesses are basically synonymous. That's what you will encounter doing the J juice. You will know what your weaknesses are. Your weaknesses are. You'll know your predispositions, and you'll know your triggers. And when you do vaccines out there, you will know your weaknesses, you will know your predispositions, and you will know your triggers, because you're going to be exposed to the viruses regardless. J-juice, you will always be exposed to viruses regardless, and you have to strengthen your weaknesses. Okay? So the irony of me now understanding vaccines when I was so anti-vax a few years ago just doesn't escape me. So that's why I want you guys to stop promoting the anti-vax, stop inducing fear about the Ebola vaccine, and just promote J-juice. And say, hey, if you choose to do the vaccine or not do the vaccine, always do J-juice regardless, even if you're doing shots of it. Okay? Even for you, because it's not going to hurt you. It's freaking cabbage juice. Yes, it has a lot of salt, but guess what? When you're thirsty, you drink water. Okay? This fear of the salt is asinine. That's why you get so much healing, because it's the amount of salt that's in there. You don't have a lot of salt, guess what? You have inertia. When you're devoid of salt, guess what? Your body atrophies. Guess what? Salt energizes the cells. It energizes the muscles. And then you bring in water to give it that balancing force. And then you bring in minerals to get the electrolytes. And then you bring in nutrition that gets energized by the electrolytes. And then you bring the acids to help dissolve the bad and help break down your food so you can absorb. I mean, it's all science and chemistry, guys. So this fear of salt is like the most asinine thing. And those that are afraid of salt, forget it. This isn't for you. You're meant to be out there in the chemtrails world worried about the condensation in the skies. You're meant to be in the fear-based thing, and that's kind of a balancing force, because you know people that are afraid of the salt are going to be away from the salt and they will atrophy themselves, because that's what it is. When you are devoid of salt or you lessen the salt, you will see your body atrophy systematically. Inertia. So anyways, do the J juice. If the Ebola vaccine is mandatory, and if I'm forced to do the Ebola vaccine in order to get my license, I'll do it. And then I'll be doing a lot of J juice. But I'm not going to worry about it because I have a very strong cardiovascular system. I never even had a predisposition when I was doing the J juice anyway. So I've never had an issue with my heart. If anything, I had a very low blood pressure because I wasn't taking in enough salt, because I also had leaky gut. So So I have no problem getting any vaccine if it becomes mandatory. Now, I won't volunteer because I see no reason to inject myself because I don't like feeling pain by anything. I don't like injecting myself. But if it comes down to it because the government wants to protect the population so we don't have a mass epidemic, yeah, I'd do it. Okay, so if it ever comes mandatory in Ohio, and you guys hear about it, Ohio's doing mandatory Ebola vaccines in order to get your driver's license because there's been a whole rash of deaths, I would do it. And then I will deal with whatever, and my body will be able to handle the new environment because it is an adaptation thing. And that's where I want you guys to be at some point with the J juice, is where you're not afraid of anything that's out there. Anything. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that we have World War III where everyone's throwing nukes at each other. Well, I don't see Putin doing that. I don't see North Korea doing that. I don't see China doing that because they all want to live as much as we want to. So really the only fear is of yourselves and from each other. Okay? So just do the J juice and then stop fearing everything and deal with the pain. Okay? Just deal with the pain. You're going to have to anyways. Or you roll the dice every single time you walk outside. Because you can't live in your room forever. You can't live in a bubble. I mean, I guess at some point, you know, with the way Amazon is, you can have everything delivered to your house. You don't even have to answer your door anymore. You can basically telecommute and not even see a person. You can be hermetically sealed in your house and not visit anybody. I'm almost like that, but I do see my husband who's out there in the world. I do go to the grocery store. I do see people out there. You know, I'll go and visit friends on the weekends occasionally. So I'm not completely hermetically sealed, but during the week, I go outside with my dog, go inside. I do what I got to do. I'll say hi to the mailman. I'll go to the grocery store. And that's pretty much it. But but no one's going to be stuck in their house, not going anywhere, doing anything. People are going to want to go out and hang out with their friends. Okay? So you might as well learn how to adapt to your environment and understand the Jilly juice, because there's nothing else out there. There's nothing else out there, you guys. There's not enough holistic stuff in the world that's going to help you. Okay. So anyways, all right. Bye. See you later.